On the line with us is Clifton Roberts, the CEO of the Humane Party. It offers Americans a choice from the you-know-who, frickin' frack who are out there right now, welcoming citizens to get involved. Go to humaneparty.org, humaneparty.org.
Recently, the Nutrition Business Journal put out a report in 2015, and they did a survey, and between 36 and 39% of the population in the U.S. is interested in not only reducing meat and dairy consumption, but also another Gallup poll reveals that 1/3 of Americans want animals to have the same rights as people. So this view is actually up even 25% from a similar poll performed in 2008. And while the Humane Society is an animal rights and animal protection advocacy organization, the Humane Party is a political party that is dedicated to not only the rights of animals and providing them rights and delivering them from exploitation and abuse, but also other platform agenda items as well, requiring a balanced state budget and federal budget and territorial budgets.
Is there an outgrowth kind of thing? Are the founders of the Humane Party, did they begin as animal rights folks? Did they begin? How did that? I'm fascinated because I've been on the air 40 years, and I will say to you, I haven't had experience with the party, but now that you've described it, this is, I think, a lot more than we thought it was going to be. So this is terrific. So specifically on animals, and you listed some important items. Reducing exploitation, the trend of the public to not even want to eat animal flesh, and then what we do now, what's available now, what resources are available. Is this issue coming to a point of we've gotten this done, or are we still way, way from the goal? Where are we?
It's a grand goal for the future. I think right now we are at the point of establishing that organizational culture that embodies compassion, kindness, cooperation, responsibility, accountability, empathy, and enthusiasm. And, when I started to have conversations with the board of directors to be a CEO, it was because I felt that my own socioeconomic and political views aligned perfectly with the vision of the Humane Party, which, by the way, was founded back in 2008. So I came aboard to build the vehicle. So my job is to coordinate so that we can be effective and we can actually get skilled candidates that represent the Humane Party into office, which I'm working on now. We have some excellent candidates that we're cultivating in New York, in Pennsylvania, one here in California. The strategy for the Humane Party is to identify the states that have the easiest requirements in terms of getting someone on the ballot, and then getting those people at least to even run, to turn this ideology into something that is tangible so that we can say, hey, there's a Humane Party candidate that's running for the House of Representatives or the Senate in California, in New York, in Pennsylvania, in North Carolina. So we're definitely laying the foundation for future generations to come.
You already were this guy, and then the party seemed to really speak what was in your heart. Was it originally like so many things in life, like 3 or 4 people at a coffee house or in a moment and said, this must happen? Or did it come together as fragments? Just give me a brief understanding of how it comes to be, because I can't wait to look at all the possibilities of it, but I want to really understand it. This comes as a brainchild or a vision. How does it actually happen?
Absolutely. A few of the board of directors right now, one in particular, his name is Shel Harrison. He is an attorney. He's a compassionate vegan like myself. And he just started to have conversations with other vegans and other animal rights activists. He is an inventor. He owns many patents. And so, they just started to think out loud together.
Wow. All right.
I'm there.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Right. So when you come in and take a look at the landscape, you are driven by the animal issue, or are you really driven by what I've heard you say a couple of times, I think, but just general and genuine compassionate attitude toward our immediate vicinity, animals, etc.? Is that what this is really headed, but I just can't get over. I'm looking at the website right now. People can follow with me, humaneparty.org. This is tough to look at, but it's always been that the word humane, right, for Americans, triggers off animal, humane treatment of animals. So it looks like that's a big theme here. You want to tell me how we can do the other agenda items? The other agenda items will flow from or be, additional to. Give me a handle on how this becomes a real agenda from the heartbreak of animal cruelty.
If you look at it, to me, the circle of life, people talk about the circle of life, and I think that there's a lot of things that are interconnected with the way that we treat animals. For example, you look at states with water issues, the state I live in California. People fail to realize that the majority of the water shortages that we're suffering today is because of the amount of water that is used for factory farms and taking care of animals that we end up either having to kill, or we imprison them, or we torture them, or whatever the case is. And then even if you look at the use of toxic and hazardous, economically untenable fuels and energy, my acronym for meat, my personal acronym for meat is muscle and epinephrine of animal tissue. And that really is fact-based. So when we get scared, we either fight or flight, right? And when we fight, it's adrenaline. And when we flight and when we are full of fear, it's epinephrine. I heard somewhere that the average human consumes about 3,000 animals in their lifetime. And think about, no matter how we try to cleanse that meat, all of that epinephrine that we put into our bodies. I really think that we can be compassionate when it comes to starting a war, especially the way that we do it for profit motive.
I should let everybody know, if you're just joining us, this is amazing. We had this scheduled for the other day. Everybody knows that me and the show, this is right up our alley. I really thought this would be animal exclusive, and it's so much more. Meat eaters have always been a little bit the tough guy. The tough guy wants the big steak. So you talked about the epinephrine and the adrenaline and the muscle, etc. Right. I'm following all of this, but how now? And I'm a huge student of the history of the planet. This whole idea of one big long history that goes back millions and millions of years. How would we know if we're off what our species is doing? In other words, like that we're on the wrong plan. Haven't in the past species exploited one another and wiped one another out as they, kind of slither through evolution? So would we know if we're off plan here? I hear you. Our species could in fact live an entire life without any capturing or killing of animals. The animals could be where they are. We could be making plants. We could be developing rich vegetables, not in a laboratory, but in combinations, right? We could do exactly what's been done before. But we did depart. We have departed since the Iron Age and the Stone Age and all these things. We became aggressors, predators. And I don't know, don't species in general look for something weak that they can take? And are we departing, or are we headed down a road, that's there and we don't like it, but it is kind of the road you get as a species? Is that too vague?
No, not at all. Not at all. And I think you make a very rational point. I'm a person that speaks with data, and I think it's an excellent rational data point. You have to remember, in 1848, many people saw a similar key data point as an obstacle for the National Women's Rights Convention, led by Susan B. Anthony, in its fight to gain voting rights for women. And there was a rich history, think about it, Ed, there was a rich history of oppression against women and thinking, you can't even vote. You're not smart enough to vote. We are going to oppress you because we are superior to you. It wasn't necessarily speciesism, but it was definitely man against a woman, right? So through the reliance of the Constitution, and that's what the Humane Party is all about, the reliance of the Constitution, Susan B. Anthony She must have felt it was impossible at first, with people with a pessimistic view, to comprehend the vision. But this group of inspired people instigated a movement which led to change and enforcement. And that's what exactly is going on with the Humane Party. Even though there's a history of speciesism, there's nothing wrong with being even better and evolving to that next level and being compassionate.
I want to pursue this so much because you're saying something that I feel as a network, right? We've been for a couple of years on these ultra local, low power stations. That's where we are. We're in a place like Francis, Utah, and we're in a place like Minden Mines, Missouri. And I genuinely feel, I've worked in radio in all the big cities. I worked at KBC in Los Angeles, WABC in New York, The Loop in Chicago. So, and I was born in New York City. So there is a renaissance going on in this country at a level way under the national media. I mean, that's a horrible radar to use. I mean, that's not even a radar. But you seem to be saying that a lot of things that people are grasping for, and you're saying it that there's an actual political party. You know, people get very skeptical about that. Oh, geez. Every time I turn on C-SPAN, it's something that I never see again. When are one of these things going to catch fire? So you're in the right cycle. You're on the vibe. Do you mind telling me why they're considering joining with you? And I will let you know about the last couple of months. I took over the network as CEO as well a couple of months ago, and we've added another 12, 15,000 daily listeners. Now, of course, we have 26 cities, so I don't want to, don't exaggerate that. But I'm saying this is grassroots, what we're doing, we're doing here. And
absolutely.
I love what you're saying is possible for them and myself, because we feel like we're disruptors. But we're the kind of disruptors, we just break camp and go our own way. We're not going to go through everybody else's stuff and disrupting it. Now I believe maybe there is a way to tie 50 states together and say we want to stay local. We don't want to be big. We want to be close to the roots of people's daily lives. Tell me.
It's so interesting that you're saying this, Ed, because part of the strategy, and one of the things that the board asked me to do, is really enhance our organizational infrastructure and really to take advantage of that grassroots capability that you're talking about. And so what we've done is we've developed conferences, and within each conference, there's 11 conferences, and within each conference, there are states. So, for example, conference number 10 would be New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut.
Right.
Already, since May, now I came aboard in May, already I've developed and contacted and cultivated conference directors. So there is that connection that you're speaking of.
You are. So you're building an infrastructure. Right. You're building an infrastructure that's going to have someone in each of those areas, and then they'll subdivide. All right. So tell me something. Now you're getting a lot of people excited because you have a grassroots idea for a grassroots audience. Very exciting interview. Nothing could be more exciting than what we're doing right now. So this is right again happening for us. We don't do regular radio and stream video that's just mundane. I won't do it. Clifton and I are going through a hell of a list of things that are important. Many of you know I've worked for Viacom and Disney and ABC and CBS, and every time there's been, oh, Ed, I don't know about this guest you're having on today. They would hotline you in a break like this. They would call you and say, the show's getting a little bit crazy now. You want to wrap this up with this guy and get into the baseball? Years ago, this is the way the game was run. So I, in 2010, like many of my colleagues, after a long, enjoyable, thrilling history of reaching out to people across the country, we've all started to look for different ways to do it. Well, Clifton, today with us, Clifton Roberts, the CEO of the Humane Party, shares some of our understanding of that condition in America today. The devil, this kind of devil, the orthodoxy devil, the one that says, I know how everybody, that goes, everybody's can catch that cold. That's a virus anybody can catch. You're never immune.
One of the things that I encourage people to do, you remember that old quote by Dwight Eisenhower when he said that, it ought to be the part-time profession of every citizen to be a politician. I'm reminded of citizens of that this is our political machine is just that. It's ours. And it's become so complex, Ed, that we as citizens have lost our way. We think that it's so complex, and how do we do it? And my job is to break down those barriers, to simplify it,
right,
and remind people that, hey, this is our political machine, that you can be a part-time citizen politician as well, that you don't need to have a doctorate degree in policy or law, that if you are truly passionate about something, that you can write a bill. All we need are the friends in Congress to be able to introduce that, and that's what our goal is. So does it seem impossible? Absolutely not. Think about it. If you at one level do not want to kill animals, or don't even want to have anything to do with the killing of an animal, think about how compassionate and honorable you would be even for the next level when you're talking about starting a war for profit motives.
Now you came back to what I was saying before. I thought you started this train of thought. The meat eater, right? They definitely see a problem like ISIS and go, here's the answer. Blow everything up that they're in and 10 more feet in a circle, and that'll be done. Then they hear the next guy is coming. So that is tied to meat eating and aggression, because there is, right? Now, you started out with this fight or flight dichotomy. Are you going to play into it? Are you going to ride that tiger, or are we really going to look to a time where they won't eat the epinephrine and they will stop instinctively aggressing? Right now, aggression is an instinct. So are we working on diminishing the instinct, or working with the instinct, redirecting it?
I agree with you, Ed. There's a difference between aggression and security.
Good.
And definitely, we are a political party that wants to enhance our national security, but we want to make sure that it's the voice of the people, that it includes legislation and action. We want to modernize our approach to national security so it achieves great security, but at lower costs. And definitely, that aggressive part, we want to eliminate the systems that create profit motives to engage in war, or to encourage other nations to engage in war. So aggression has a lot to do with it, but there's a difference between being aggressive and being smart and making sure that we're secure.
Right. Well, let me follow up with that. On the line with us is Clifton Roberts. The Humane Party here in the United States is in each of the. It looks like it's all 50. I'm looking at this list. Is it all 50 states?
All 50 states.
50 states. Maybe we can input on that. We have folks in 26 different cities around the country. Clifton, are you ready to talk about where we could find some conference leaders for you? Mention a couple of geographies. I'm very excited about having you on the show today.
Thank you so much. Likewise, and that's what's beautiful about this organization, is this organization from a grassroots effort is made up of non-politicians who are practicing to be part-time citizen politicians. And that's where, with that 100% compassionate view, I think that's where we separate ourselves from the other two big parties. We have Conference 1 right now. We're looking, and I've been talking to people. Like you, I probably don't sleep but 4 hours a day, because I actually work for a company to make a living as well. You know what I mean? I work for Intel Corporation, which I'm sure you have some of their chips in.
I was going to, you know what? You're so funny when you say that. Now I got it. Years ago, I wouldn't have known the significance. And Intel, I remember, gosh, I think in college, I first heard of it. So it is still a premier chip, right? It is still the chip of the world, right?
Absolutely. But, what I'm even more proud of is what I do for Intel. I actually am the senior manager of ethics and legal compliance. So I make sure that all of our 106,000 employees
Are you really?
Job.
Are you really? Say that again slowly, because I want people to really embrace it. Your job, your title at Intel.
Absolutely. My title is Senior Manager of Ethics and Legal Compliance.
Wow.
So my job, my job in a nutshell at a high level, is to ensure that all 105,000 employees around the world do their job with uncompromising integrity and follow the laws and rules and regulations that's established either internationally or nationally. And I make it fun. And so ethics plays a really important part to me in life, I grew up, and just to let you know, I was born in Japan. My father is African American, Native American. My mother is Korean. So being born in Japan and being raised in Korea, being Korean being my first language, honor and integrity and respecting your elders and eating healthy are just natural for me. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I do. I cannot believe this biography. May I? May I just please respond to that?
Absolutely.
I taught ethics in the city of Chicago at Columbia College to journalists for graduating seniors for 3 years, and I was implored to do this because of the radio show that I did, and I never had more fun. Number one. Number two, my experience with Korea is someone's family and mine being together for about 5 years, and the name Zen Yi will always be my best friend ever. So you're killing me with coincidence here. Now, I am
That's
also
beautiful.
maybe like you a little bit. I've got the fire in my belly since college.
Right.
And this was my collegiate experience. People who look me up online, you can find me on LinkedIn, but you can also find me in 1978 speaking at a podium demanding that the students of the campus be more involved in what the administration was doing with our activity funds. We're putting in 24 bucks a piece, and we were getting the same foosball machine. And I'm like, we're paying 24 bucks. There's 10,000 of us. We can. So anyway, this never ends. Is my point to
Absolutely.
you? Never ends.
I agree.
Go
I
on.
agree.
Please go on, because as an ethicist, you're going to teach people right now, the two of us talking, how to strengthen integrity. You strengthen integrity, everything else goes up. How do people reach and tighten the bolts on their integrity? Clifton, what a joy meeting you. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate it. My experience, Ed, with vegans and people who really show compassion for animals, it's been outstanding. And I turned vegan when I was 30, but I went vegetarian right after I went to Cal Berkeley. I went to UC Berkeley for my undergraduate studies. And since going vegan, I've met people that just have this natural, compassionate view. And I think when you have that, I think ethics is really, really easy. And that's the reason why there's a position at a corporation, is because we have to work at being ethical. We have to work at providing them the tools and the resources to make sure that they're doing the right thing, that they're basing their decisions on principles. Whereas with the vegan community and the Humane Party community, or even people that I work with that aren't necessarily radicals but are compassionates, you don't have to work as hard as providing them with the tools to do it. As a matter of fact, usually with the people that I deal with, like in the case of the Humane Party, it's providing them with the knowledge and the information that there are platforms and resources that they can take advantage of. It's almost like, wow, you didn't know that this existed, or they think that it's too complex to actually take advantage of it. So that's why we're putting together these conferences and developers for each conference. Conference 1, for example, is Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota, and Alaska. Conference 2 is, like I told you, California and Hawaii, led by Don Huddleston. Conference 3, we have Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Wyoming. Conference 4, led by Magnolia Martin, who, by the way, is obtaining her U.S. citizenship July 7th. She's going through her coronation ceremony. Conference 5, led by Colleen Olson, is Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, Missouri, and Arkansas. Conference 6 is Minnesota, and that we don't have anyone there, but I've been having conversations with Wisconsin, Illinois, and Michigan. Conference 7 is Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, led by Robin Miller. Now, all of these ladies I've had conversations with, and I've gotten to know over the past 2 months before we even made that decision from a party perspective to say, you would be good for this conference. And they're all very, very passionate. And then you have Conference 8, 9, and 10, and, those are states like Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky. And there's Valerie over for New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The nice thing about it is the presence, the online presence and the Facebook and all of that, and our interaction mechanism already exists for all of these conferences. Right now, the conferences that are missing the directors, I have been acting as the director for those conferences. So, and then they're also one of our board members, bless her soul, Georgia, is also helping me every day deal with people that are volunteering on the website and engaging with us on Facebook, which has been enormous, the support that we've received. I've received letters from other political parties in other countries, in Canada, for example, in Australia, in Switzerland, and wishing us nothing but well wishes. And I've even recommended that we have some sort of humane coalition, international humane coalition, where leaders of these various other political organizations from different countries, we all get together to think out loud and think strategically.
Clifton Roberts is our guest, CEO of the Humane Party. Go to the website, thehumaneparty.org. All right, so now I can feel that we're gathering a lot of listeners. It's just instinctive with me. We've been on a while. The idea is out there. People are getting... Let's reintroduce the way to get to this party is you go to the website. You can get on the mailing list. You can make yourself known. I'm going to universally post this in so many different places to let people hear it, and I'm going to let you guide me to places you would like it to post up. And I mean, it goes to every level of folks now. Like years ago, it was impossible to do that. As you said, Facebook. See, Facebook to me is like it gets a lot of publicity, but it's just a conduit. The value of Facebook is the people who are on it. Right. It's the connections you make.
Ed, I'm sorry, I actually have to take this call.
Oh, no problem. But, we can continue. Sure.
But definitely humaneparty.org, or they can reach out to me directly at c.roberts@hporg.net.
Excellent. All right. I'll tell you what, we'll check in a couple of days, and then we'll have you back on for a little update, and, periodically we'll just keep an eye on what's going on.
Ed, I would love that. I can't thank you enough, man. I have a tremendous amount of respect for your craft and what you've been doing for so long. I obviously did my research on you, too, and I really appreciate what you do.
Rock on. Well, I'll tell you what, let's check in Wednesday. I'll check in with you Wednesday, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Will do. Thanks,
you got it. Have a great next phone call. I know you will, because I can feel the vibe and where you're at right now. This is great. Right on.
Awesome.
Thank you.
It.
Take care.
Bye.
My pleasure. All right, this is what we do, people. People say, well, Ed Tyll. What kind of network is that? Oh, Ed Tyll. What kind of person is that? Ed Tyll. Oh, the guy said this. The guy said that. He wears high tops. He wears low tops. He wears slip-ons. Oh, he wears... Come on, man. Let's elevate out of what I talked about earlier today. Let's get with this gentleman. Let's get with this gentleman where his head is at. Could we elevate up there a little bit instead of staying down there all the time? Could we think up a little bit? That's what to me, the best value from any interview, as far as I'm concerned, consuming them years ago when I was a kid, and then Larry King became my interview hero. To this gentleman, Clifton, who was just on with us, Clifton Roberts. He's the CEO of the Humane Party. They're in all 50 states. Go to the website and check it out now, my funk soul brother. Right about now, my funk soul brother. Ed Tyll Show, Starcom Radio Network. If you want to get this now? All right, I'll grab it. Okay, thanks.
On this in just a second is, you cut off the weakest link in the Eurozone, maybe the rest of it will be stronger. The gold is currently up by about 0.5% at 11.79, but over the course of 1 week, gold is down by 0.5%, so not fully capitalizing on the financial turbulence around the world, is it? As for WTI crude at 58.46, down by about 2%. That, folks, is a 1-month low. Concerns about the economic impact of all these financial problems. We've got much more on Greece, Puerto Rico, China and the US markets in a moment, but I do want to begin with that big sell-off in China because the main stock market index there entering bear market territory. The Shanghai Composite...
Chinese economy plunged overnight. I caught some of this. Don't panic about any of it. There's lots of flexibility when you got all that going on that China does. China's very interesting what they're doing right now, geopolitically. That comes up later. What comes up right now to me is the humaneparty.org. The humaneparty.org. It's the Ed Tyll Show, Starcom.